Hi dear learners, welcome to today's presentation on Pedagogy MCQ series of 10 questions. Together we will solve. So with your permission, shall we start the series? Okay. Here is the first question. Which of the following statement represent proximo-distal principle of physical development? Proximo-distal principle of physical development. The given options are: development proceeds from the head down to the toes. Development involves a rapid and uneven physical growth. Development proceeds from the center of the body outward. The development occurs the exact same rate for all individuals. So here the answer is that is proximo-distal principle of physical development means development proceeds from the center of the body outwards. Development proceeds from the center of the body outwards. The proximo-distal trend dictates that growth and motor control begin at the center of the body and move outwards towards the extremities. Started here, center, they move extremities. So this is about the proximo-distal. This is why a child can control their arms for gross motor, activity before mastering 5 motor skills like writing. So here, first is improving his arms before expert in writing. So that is answer is development proceeds from center of the body outward. Second question. During the adolescence, structural changes in the brain particularly affect a specific region, which can lead to increased risk taking and vulnerability. Which region is this? A. Hippocampus. The hippocampus. B. Prefrontal cortex. C. The amygdala. D. The cerebellum. So here, during the adolescence, the structural changes in the brain particularly affect a specific region, which can lead to increased risk taking and vulnerability. That is the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex manages higher level cognitive functions and impulse control. During adolescence, this area undergoes heightened plasticity and structural remodeling because it is still developing. Adolescents frequently exhibit increased risk-taking behavior and sensitivity to emotional stress. That is the prefrontal cortex. Third one. According to the Jean Piaget theory of cognitive development, during which stage does a child first display the concept of object permanence? Pre-operation stage, concrete operation stage, former operation stage, sensory motor stage. So your answer is sensory motor stage. The sensory motor stage spans from birth to roughly 2 years. Infants learn to coordinate purposeful movement with sensory information. The major milestone is object permanence, understanding that objects continue to exist even when they cannot be seen, heard, and touched. Fourth one. According to the Vygotsky, young children use a specific mechanism to turn shared social knowledge into their own personal knowledge. What is this mechanism called? Prior speech, conservation of energy, autonomous morality, equilibration. So that's about private speech. Vygotsky argued that language and thought are deeply intertwined. I mean, both are twisted, both are interchanged. Private speech, such as talking aloud to oneself, is the crucial, or oneself, that is louder, the means low, is the crucial mechanism children use to guide their own behavior, solve problems, and ultimately internalize social communication into a personal cognitive framework. Question number 5. According to the Lawrence Kohlberg, what is the most effective way for a teacher to instill moral values in children? A. Giving strict instruction on how to behave. B. Laying out clear, unbending rules of behavior. C. Involving them in discussion on moral dilemmas. D. Relying solely on religious teaching. So your answer is involving them in discussions on moral dilemmas. Kohlberg theory is built upon observing how individuals navigate moral dilemmas. He posited that morality is about the reasoning behind choice, not just blind obedience. Facilitating active discussion on moral issues allows children to advance their moral reasoning from pre-convention to higher levels. 6.1. In Ivan Pavlov's foundational classical conditioning experiment study, the digestive system of dogs was served as unconditioned stimulus. So that's about the bell, the food, the saliva, the light. So your answer is the saliva. In classical conditioning, the unconditioned stimulus uses naturally and automatically triggers a response without any prior learning. In Pavlov's experiment, the food naturally caused the dog to produce saliva, unconditioned response. The bell later became the conditional stimulus. Bell is conditioned stimulus, food is unconditional. UCS, 7th one. Skinner's theory of apparent conditioning is built upon an extension of Pavlov's ideas. What is the key central term for understanding Skinner's apparent condition theory? Apparent condition theory. Recall, retention, reinforcement, insight. That's about reinforcement. While Pavlov focused on automatic physiological associations, Skinner focused on voluntary behaviors governed by consequences. Reinforcement is the core mechanism dictating that behaviors followed by satisfying consequences are strengthened and more likely to occur again. 8th one. A child in your classroom struggles significantly with writing due to difficulties with fine motor skills and spatial planning on paper. Which specific learning disability does this represent? Dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysmorphia, dysgraphia. So your answer is graphia. What is that? Dysgraphia. Sorry, dysgraphia. Dysgraphia is a neurological condition that impairs writing ability and fine motor skills. It manifests as distort or illegible handwriting and difficulty seizing or spacing letter. Difficulty sizing and spacing letters. Dyslexia related to reading, while dyscalculia related to mathematical problem solving, mathematical issues. Ninth one, when catering to needs of student diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which of the following environmental setup should a teacher avoid? Sitting the child next to a large window facing the playground. That should be avoided. Students with ADHD have neurological deficit in maintaining attention and inhibiting impulses. Sitting them near highly stimulating areas like window, window facing a playground, accelerate distractibility. Successful inclusion requires actively managing the environment to minimize unnecessary sensor input. See, if he's sitting out near the window, he will be influenced by this playground. So that is the difficulty. Question number 10. What is the primary overarching objective of inclusive education? To segregate children with disability into specialized facilities, to label children as either slow learners or gifted, to uncover and minimize barrier to learning for all children, to ensure all students achieve the exact same academic scores. So your answer is to uncover and minimize barriers to learning for all students. Inclusive education is a systematic pedagogical shift. It is not merely placing differently able students in mainstream rooms. The goal is to change attitude, teaching methods, and environments to actively uncover and minimize barriers, ensuring equitable access for every child. See, what are the pedagogical synthesis? One is biological foundation, cognitive engine, inclusive classroom. Biological foundation, that is for prefrontal cortex development, allows for complex reasoning but brings adolescent vulnerability to risk. Physical trend, growth follows structural rules like the proximal distal principle centered to outward motor control. Cognitive engine, learning is an active process of building schema. What is that? Constructivism, Piaget object permanence, social scaffolding, language drives thought, private speech, internalizes shared knowledge, that is MKO. The inclusive classroom environmental design adapting physical spaces to mitigate neurological barriers, example managing ADHD, distract, differentiate to support, identifying specific neuromechanical deficit like dysgraphia to provide tailored access, systematically combining conditioning, cognitive support, and barrier removal to ensure equitable learning. So, thank you.